you can sometimes tell a good musician from the way they sit down at their instrument before they've played a note. And that was definitely the case with Phil. He had a confidence about him.
The story of Genesis is one of reinvention, of evolution, of a band that defied convention and outlived the departure of its original frontman, a rare feat in the annals of rock history.
And as his strength began to fail, he saw a shimmering lake, a shadow.
Peter Gabriel's theatrical extravagance defined the band's early years, his elaborate costumes and rich storytelling turning Genesis into a progressive rock institution.
I just had to trust imagination, my heart going boom, 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 son, he said.
And then, in 1975, he was gone. Genesis faced an existential crisis.
Genesis could not continue to function as the only vehicle for his ideas.
Could they possibly continue without the man who had been their voice, their showman? Enter Phil Collins, the drummer who had, up until then, been the rhythmic force behind the scenes. The transition was seamless in hindsight, but at the time, it was fraught with tension.
It was Phil's wife at the time who recognized that her husband was perfect for the job. The band knew him, the fans knew him. He'd been singing harmonies behind Gabriel all along, so he knew how to deliver the material, and to be honest, he sounded excellent in the role.
The question that has persisted for decades is whether Gabriel, left behind as Genesis ascended to stratospheric new heights, harbored resentment towards the man who stepped into his shoes. Did Phil Collins and Peter Gabriel ever truly dislike each other, or is this simply another rock and roll myth? Peter Gabriel's decision to leave Genesis was not taken lightly. The official explanation at the time was that he wanted to spend more time with his family, but there were deeper fissures beneath the surface.
So I was spending a lot of time at the hospital, and I think Phil had a kid, but the others really weren't appreciative of all that family side of things, which they now are.
He had begun to feel creatively constrained within the group dynamic. Speaking to Mojo in a later interview, he reflected on the tensions that led to his departure. I felt like I was losing touch with myself in the band. The theatrics had taken on a life of their own. I needed to do something different. In his absence, Genesis initially struggled to find a new vocalist, auditioning several singers before Collins, almost reluctantly, stepped up.
Remaining members, Michael Rutherford, Tony Banks, Steve Hackett, and Phil Collins, pondered how to best carry on without their lead singer. Phil suggested they continue as an instrumental group, but the rest of the band shot that idea down. Instead, they chose to record the songs for the next album without vocals and audition singers as they went. They placed an anonymous ad in Melody Maker for a singer for a Genesis-type group, and they received around 400 replies.
I didn't want to do it, Collins admitted years later. I was perfectly happy playing drums, but we couldn't find the right person, so I thought I'd give it a go. What followed was an unexpected transformation. Where Gabriel's Genesis had been intricate, enigmatic, and deeply rooted in conceptual storytelling, Collins' iteration of the band became more accessible, melodic, and commercially viable. With albums like Duke and Invisible Touch, Genesis became a global powerhouse, their sound filling arenas and airwaves alike. For fans, it seemed inevitable that there must have been a rivalry. Gabriel's Genesis was adored by progressive rock purists, while Collins' Genesis brought in a new audience with a more mainstream appeal. But despite decades of speculation, neither musician has ever expressed animosity toward the other. Gabriel, far from being embittered by Genesis' success without him, always maintained a pragmatic stance. Clearly, it was good for them, he said in an interview with Classic Rock. It brought Phil out front and gave everyone a bit more space. Collins, for his part, never downplayed Gabriel's role in shaping Genesis' identity. We wouldn't have got anywhere without Peter, he once stated. He was the one who brought that theatrical element. People forget that. In fact, their professional relationship continued after Genesis. Collins played drums on Gabriel's groundbreaking 1980 self-titled solo album, contributing to the percussive innovation that helped define Gabriel's new artistic direction. The collaboration was not always smooth, with Gabriel famously instructing Collins not to use cymbals on the record. "Phil thought I was mad," Gabriel later recalled, laughing, but he got it in the end. Perhaps the most compelling evidence of their enduring bond is in their personal lives. When Gabriel married his second wife in 2002, it was Collins who stood by his side as best man. And in 2022, when Genesis embarked on their farewell tour, The Last Domino, Gabriel was present at the band's final show in London. "Phil wasn't in as great a shape as he used to be, but they did a great job," he told Mojo. "Me going was a rite of passage, really. I had been part of the creation of Genesis, so I wanted to be there at the end." One of the most interesting aspects of the Collins-Gabriel relationship is how both artists managed to forge wildly different paths while still maintaining a strong mutual respect. Gabriel's post-Genesis career took a distinctly avant-garde turn. Albums like Melt and Sew redefined his sound, incorporating world music influences, cutting-edge production techniques, and deeply personal lyrics. Songs such as Sledgehammer and Don't Give Up demonstrated his ability to craft radio-friendly hits without compromising his artistic integrity.
I'll be anything you need. To walk out of here, I can't take anymore.
Collins, on the other hand, embraced the mainstream with open arms.
I can feel it in the air tonight, oh Lord.
His solo work, particularly the smash hit Face Value, saw him become one of the most commercially successful artists of the 1980s.
When all I can do is watch you leave.
Tracks like In the Air Tonight and Against All Odds made Collins a household name, and he soon found himself juggling both a solo career and Genesis's continued success. There were occasional moments of overlap. Collins appeared at Gabriel's Secret World Live tour in the early 90s, and the two were often seen speaking positively about each other in interviews.
Hi Phil, this is Peter and I'm sitting backstage in Montreal and we're doing a tour for Amnesty International, taking us all the way around the world, and that's the only excuse I have for not being with you tonight. We're very proud of you, Phil.
But while their careers diverged, their mutual respect never waned. The idea of bitter rivalries in rock music is nothing new. From Lennon and McCartney to Jagger and Richards, fans have always relished the notion of bandmates turned enemies. It makes for compelling storytelling, but in reality, the bonds forged through music are often stronger than any creative differences. The relationship between Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins is a testament to that. Even as Genesis transformed from a cult prog rock outfit into a stadium-filling juggernaut, Gabriel never resented Collins for taking the band to new heights.
Anyway, I've been very pleased to see your meteoric success and how well you've done in everything, production, singing, writing, acting. Well, I can think of a lot of words of how I feel, but jealous, of course, isn't one of them. Anyway, I'm very pleased, and I wish you a great evening tonight, and lots of love. Bye.
Likewise, Collins never sought to diminish Gabriel's contributions to Genesis's legacy. Gabriel summed it up best when asked if he ever regretted leaving Genesis. "I made the right choice for me," he said, "and they made the right choice for them. We all got what we wanted." Collins, in turn, has always expressed admiration for Gabriel's work. "Peter is one of a kind. He's done things in music that nobody else would have thought of. I was lucky to be part of that." So, do Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins hate each other? The answer is a resounding no. If anything, their relationship is one of mutual admiration, respect, and an understanding that their shared past helped shape who they are today. Their story is not one of rivalry, but of evolution. Genesis may have changed, but both Gabriel and Collins left their mark on the band in their own way. And in the end, perhaps that's why their legacy endures. Not because of conflict, but because of the music they made together and apart, and the respect they never lost for each other.